My name is Isabella Vance, and I walked into the pre-gala dinner at the Caldwell estate completely alone. Not because I didn't have someone to bring, but because I wanted to feel every quiet whisper of judgment, every subtle glance, unshielded. This wasn't just a dinner, it was a silent audit, a courtroom where everyone had already passed judgment, unmarried, past 30, pursuing a niche career instead of a real future. The Caldwell estate in Greenwich, Connecticut, was a monument to old money and carefully cultivated prestige. Tonight, the air vibrated with the anticipation of tomorrow's grand unveiling, the new Digital Horizons wing at the city's Museum of Modern Art, a project heavily championed and funded by the Caldwell family. My fiancé, Liam Caldwell, was the public face of this magnificent venture, his charisma as polished as the marble floors beneath our feet. As I mingled, an almost invisible figure in my simple, tailored black dress, heads turned. Not in admiration, but in polite curiosity that quickly soured into subtle smirks from Liam's various aunts and cousins. The women, bedecked in diamonds and disdain, leaned towards each other, their eyes scanning my modest attire, my unadorned hands, and the glaring absence of an engagement ring. I caught snippets of whispers, "Poor Liam," still waiting for her to settle down. Or "she's the one who does art, right? So quaint." My sister, Clara Vance, didn't even glance my way. She was too busy posing, all effervescent smiles and social grace, beside Liam and his beaming parents. Clara, with her thriving career in corporate law and her perfectly curated life, was always the family's golden child. And me? I was the forgotten detail, the quiet figure they hoped would blend into the background, a minor discord in their symphony of success. I could have left. I should have, perhaps, but something in me held firm, a quiet resolve to face every mocking gaze without flinching. Then, the evening's cruel centerpiece was delivered. We were seated at the grand dining table beneath a chandelier that dripped crystals like frozen tears. The conversation flowed, light and self-congratulatory, until Clara, with a smile that barely reached her eyes, turned to me. "Isabella," she began, her voice a silken thread. "Liam was just telling us about the final touches on the Digital Horizons wing. It's truly a monumental undertaking for the Caldwells, a real contribution to the city's cultural legacy." She paused, then tilted her head, her gaze lingering on my simple dress. "It must be wonderful to be able to simply create without the pressure of having to make a real-world impact, isn't it? Such a lovely hobby." A polite titter went around the table. Liam offered a strained, sympathetic smile. His mother, Lady Eleanor Caldwell, a woman whose elegance was as sharp as her wit, nodded gravely. "Indeed, dear, not everyone is cut out for the practicalities of philanthropy, are they? Some prefer the quieter pursuits." My parents, Arthur and Vivienne Vance, offered weak apologetic smiles, as if my very presence was an embarrassment. "Isabella's work is unique, dear," Vivienne mumbled, fidgeting with her pearl necklace. The words, so casually delivered, hit harder than any shouted insult. Hobby. Quaint. Lack of real-world impact. They saw my life, my passion, my years of tireless dedication as nothing more than a childish diversion, a charming eccentricity to be tolerated. Something cold and precise settled in my chest. They were about to learn exactly how wrong they were. My plan didn't begin that night, but that night solidified it. For years, I'd been living a double life. To my family, I was the quiet, somewhat eccentric artist who dabbled in digital creations, the one who spent too much time on her laptop, producing abstract pixels no one understood. To the world beyond their gilded cage, I was Artemis, a name whispered with reverence in the cutting-edge digital art scene. I was a pioneer in immersive digital architecture, my unique algorithms creating dynamic, interactive art installations that had sold for millions in private auctions and secured commissions from major tech moguls and international foundations. My work was groundbreaking, pushing the boundaries of what art could be in the digital age. But it was also anonymous. Operating under a pseudonym was my shield, my freedom. The Caldwell's Digital Horizons wing, the jewel in Liam's philanthropic crown, was showcasing a monumental, immersive digital experience at its heart. It was touted as a technological marvel, an artistic triumph that would redefine the museum landscape. What they didn't know was that Artemis hadn't just consulted on the project. Artemis had designed, built, and coded every single line of that complex, sprawling installation. I had secured the contract through a shadowy foundation, a shell company I controlled, ensuring complete anonymity. For the past 2 years, while Liam publicly championed the project, I had poured every ounce of my expertise, my vision, and my silent fury into creating the masterpiece that would stand as his family's proudest achievement. I had access to everything, every architectural blueprint, every budget allocation, every technical specification. I knew the installation intimately, better than anyone, because it was literally a piece of my soul made manifest. I had painstakingly documented every communication, every vague instruction from Liam, every dismissive email from Lady Eleanor. My vault, as I called it, held irrefutable proof of my sole authorship, buried under layers of encrypted files on my private server. My revenge wouldn't be loud. It would be an elegant unveiling. The night of the gala arrived. The Museum of Modern Art buzzed with an electric anticipation. Limousines lined the streets, flashbulbs popped, and the air was thick with the scent of expensive perfume and the hum of excited chatter. Inside, the Digital Horizons wing was a spectacle. Guests wandered through its pristine white halls, admiring the empty spaces, talking about the future of art. The centerpiece, the grand, immersive installation, was concealed behind a massive black velvet curtain, awaiting Liam's dramatic unveiling. I moved through the crowd, a phantom in my custom-designed gown. I was introduced by Liam, per obligation, as my fiancée, Eleanor. She's an artist. Lady Eleanor Caldwell offered a frosty smile, her eyes scanning the room, assessing social connections. My parents, Arthur and Vivian, hovered nearby, looking nervous but proud of Liam's prominence. Clara, radiant in crimson, held court with a group of lawyers, occasionally glancing at me with a triumphant smirk. "Are you excited to see Liam's big moment, Eleanor?" Clara asked, sidling up to me with a glass of champagne. "He's worked so hard on this. It's truly going to cement the Caldwell legacy." "Oh, I'm very excited," I replied, my voice smooth, utterly calm. "I have a feeling it will be a night everyone remembers." At precisely 8 p.m., the grand moment arrived. Liam, impeccably dressed, took the stage beneath the velvet curtain. He spoke eloquently of vision, innovation, and the Caldwell family's unwavering commitment to the arts. He lauded the anonymous artists, the brilliant minds who had brought this project to life, conveniently omitting any specific details. He painted a picture of a collaborative effort, carefully curated by his family. The crowd applauded, captivated by his charisma. "And now," Liam announced, his voice soaring, "the moment we've all been waiting for. The unveiling of Echoes of Tomorrow, a groundbreaking digital journey that will redefine art as we know it." With a flourish, he pressed a button. The velvet curtain swept back, revealing a cavernous, multi-story space. The lights dimmed, and then a symphony of light and sound began. Holographic projections danced across the walls, ethereal data streams coalesced into swirling landscapes, and visitors found themselves immersed in a reactive, ever-shifting digital environment. It was breathtaking. Gasps rippled through the crowd. Murmurs of awe replaced the polite chatter. Liam stood on stage, beaming, accepting the thunderous applause. Lady Eleanor looked on with tearful pride. Arthur and Vivian glowed. Clara, however, had a puzzled frown on her face. Her eyes scanned the intricate patterns, the seamless transitions, the subtle complexity. She looked at me, then back at the installation, a flicker of uncertainty in her gaze. As the initial awe settled, Liam moved into the technical explanation, pulling up a sleek tablet. He began to describe the core algorithms, the reactive elements, the data streams. His explanations were fluent, but superficial. He spoke of proprietary technology and cutting-edge frameworks, using buzzwords with practiced ease. But his voice lacked the true understanding, the intimate knowledge of the creation itself. Then, the moment I had meticulously planned arrived. A distinguished figure, known for his incisive questions, raised a hand from the VIP section. It was Professor Alistair Thorne, a renowned art historian and a sharp critic of superficial tech in the arts. "Mr. Caldwell," Professor Thorne's voice boomed, clear and resonant. "The visual spectacle is undeniable. However, I'm curious about the underlying quantum entanglement algorithms that appear to govern the installation's reactive patterns. Specifically, the synchronous self-correction protocols observed in the light frequency modulators. Could you elaborate on their genesis and unique architecture?" The question hung in the air, a highly specialized probe. Liam's confident smile faltered. He clearly had no idea what quantum entanglement algorithms were, let alone how they applied. "Ah, yes, Professor," he stammered. "An excellent question. Our team of brilliant anonymous artists. They handled the deep technical aspects. It's truly cutting edge, you see." He gestured vaguely at the swirling lights, looking increasingly uncomfortable. Lady Eleanor, sensing the shift, stepped forward, her smile rigid. "Professor Thorne, perhaps we can provide a detailed technical briefing at your convenience? Our team has prepared extensive documentation." "No, Lady Caldwell," Professor Thorne interrupted, his gaze fixed on Liam. "I'm interested in the core innovation. Mr. Caldwell, how does your system manage the autonomous adjustments in real time, especially when faced with large crowd fluctuations? You mentioned seamless immersion in your earlier remarks. Can you elaborate on the neural network topology that achieves this?" Liam's face went utterly pale. He had no clue. He looked at Lady Eleanor, then desperately scanned the room. His eyes, frantic now, landed on me, standing quietly near a Roman sculpture exhibit. This was it. My heart pounded, but my mind was clearer than crystal. Without moving from my spot, I subtly retrieved my phone. It was connected to a discrete diagnostic interface I had built into the installation, a hidden back door that only I, as Artemis, knew about. With a few swift, silent taps on my screen, I activated a hidden diagnostic overlay within the live presentation. On the massive central projection of the installation, a small, elegant Artemis logo. My signature, a stylized arrow intersecting a crescent moon, flickered to life in the top corner. Below it, a new line of text, subtle yet unmistakable, appeared. "Quantum entanglement algorithms. Artemis designed and implemented. Neural network topology. Proprietary." The change was barely perceptible to the casual observer, just a momentary ripple in the background visuals. But to Professor Thorne, it was a thunderclap. His eyes widened. He looked from the screen to Liam's panicked face, and then his gaze swept the room, searching. Liam, completely oblivious to the text, continued to bluster. "As you can see, Professor, the system is remarkably adaptive." "Adaptive, yes," Professor Thorne said, his voice now dangerously calm. He pointed to the screen. "Mr. Caldwell, can you explain the Artemis designed and implemented notation that just appeared? And the proprietary neural network topology you've apparently used for real-time audience adaptation?" Liam's jaw dropped. He actually looked behind him at the screen, his eyes widening in disbelief as he saw the alien text. He sputtered, I'm not familiar with that specific nomenclature. It's a new feature, perhaps? My technical team handles the intricate details." He glanced at Lady Eleanor, who looked equally bewildered, her face turning a vivid crimson. Professor Thorne slowly turned his head, his eyes sweeping the room. "Is there anyone here from the Digital Horizons team who can explain the Artemis-designed protocols? The brilliance of truly adaptive, self-optimizing immersive art is truly a game-changer. I would very much like to speak to the visionary who actually built this." Silence. Everyone looked at Liam and Lady Eleanor. They looked at each other. Liam started to stammer, but Professor Thorne cut him off with a raised hand. His gaze, piercing, landed on me, standing quietly at the back, almost invisible. I met his eyes. He saw the flicker of the Artemis logo on the screen, then looked back at my calm, still face. A slow, knowing smile spread across his lips. "Ah," he said, his voice resonating through the hushed hall. There you are. He walked past Liam and Lady Eleanor, who stood frozen in place, and approached the back of the room. Dr. Vance, he said, with a deliberate and clear emphasis on my last name. I believe the credit for this extraordinary breakthrough belongs solely to you. The room erupted in a storm of whispers and gasps. The unveiling of truth. The fallout was immediate and spectacular. Professor Thorne, completely ignoring Liam and Lady Eleanor, engaged me in a direct, highly technical conversation right there, in front of the entire stunned audience. I explained the quantum algorithms, the neural network architecture, and the complex real-time adaptation protocols. I spoke with a clarity and depth that Liam could never have feigned. I didn't gloat. I didn't accuse. I simply presented facts, and the facts spoke volumes. Liam was publicly humiliated. He tried to interrupt, to claim partial credit, but Professor Thorne's gaze was like a laser, cutting him off cold. Lady Eleanor, her carefully constructed composure shattered, tried to pull me aside. This is unprofessional. But it was too late, the damage was done. My parents, Arthur and Vivian, had retreated to a corner, their faces a mixture of confusion and horror. Clara looked utterly dumbfounded, her crimson dress clashing with her ashen face. Within minutes, Professor Thorne had a private, intense conversation with the museum board chairman and the Caldwell family patriarch, who had rushed to the gala, alerted by the unprecedented stir. I later heard that Professor Thorne had laid out everything: my anonymous contract, my sole authorship of the installation, Liam's gross misrepresentation, and the fact that a truly revolutionary piece of art, my Artemis work, had been created by me, in secret, because my own family had dismissed my hobby. Liam Caldwell was stripped of his public role in the Digital Horizons project within 24 hours. The official reason was mismanagement and ethical breaches related to project funding and artist attribution. The Caldwell family, desperate to salvage their reputation, issued a terse press release acknowledging newly discovered complexities regarding the installation's creation. They lost face, and their carefully cultivated philanthropic image took a severe hit. Lady Eleanor Caldwell, though not publicly reprimanded, was visibly marginalized within the museum's circles. Her once dominant presence became a mere shadow, and her social influence seemed to evaporate overnight. As for me, the museum board chairman, advised by Professor Thorne, offered me a newly created role, Director of Digital Arts and Innovation for the entire museum, with an unprecedented budget, complete artistic autonomy, and a direct line to the board. It was a position that would allow me to shape the future of art in ways I'd only dreamed of. But I declined. The morning after the gala, my phone rang. It was Professor Thorne. He offered me the opportunity to head a new global digital preservation initiative for his private foundation, with unlimited resources, complete creative freedom, and the mandate to seek out and fund groundbreaking art and archival projects worldwide. He had seen my true worth, unburdened by social pretense or corporate politics. I took the job. It wasn't just about revenge. It was about justice. It was about proving, not to them, but to myself, that my quiet competence, my unconventional passion, was more powerful than any superficial ambition. I didn't want to operate in a system that valued appearances over genuine contribution. I wanted to build something real, with people who truly understood and appreciated the depth of work required to drive true innovation and preserve true legacy. It's been 3 years since that extraordinary night. I'm thriving as the director of the Global Digital Preservation Initiative. My team has grown from a handful of passionate scholars to a network of renowned digital architects, conservators, and artists across 3 continents. But I declined. The morning after the gala, my phone rang. It was Professor Thorne. He offered me the opportunity to head a new global digital preservation initiative for his private foundation, with unlimited resources, complete creative freedom, and the mandate to seek out and fund groundbreaking art and archival projects worldwide. He had seen my true worth, unburdened by social pretense or corporate politics. I took the job. It wasn't just about revenge. It was about justice. It was about proving, not to them, but to myself, that my quiet competence, my unconventional passion, was more powerful than any superficial ambition. I didn't want to operate in a system that valued appearances over genuine contribution. I wanted to build something real, with people who truly understood and appreciated the depth of work required to drive true innovation and preserve true legacy. The long echo. It's been 3 years since that extraordinary night. I'm thriving as the director of the Global Digital Preservation Initiative. My team has grown from a handful of passionate scholars to a network of renowned digital architects, conservators, and artists across 3 continents. The Artemis brand, once my secret, is now celebrated openly. My name appears in major art magazines, academic journals, and yes, even mainstream headlines. I present at international forums, not as Isabella who dabbles, but as Dr. Isabella Vance, the visionary behind the groundbreaking fusion of art and digital preservation. Liam Caldwell? Last I heard, he's managing a small, regional investment fund, having been quietly pushed out of the Caldwell family's main operations. His reputation for vision has been replaced by a lingering whisper of empty suits. Lady Eleanor Caldwell rarely appears at high-profile social events anymore. Her once formidable presence has faded, her influence diminished. And the Digital Horizons wing at the museum? It still stands, a testament to my anonymous work. They tried to find another Artemis to maintain and update the complex systems, but without the original architect, they've struggled. The installation, while still visually impressive, lacks the dynamic evolution and innovative spirit it once had. It's a static display, a hollow echo of its original potential, slowly decaying into mere pixels, just like the legacy they tried to build on borrowed genius. Sometimes, late at night, I think about that dinner, about Liam's bluster and Lady Eleanor's dismissiveness. I think about the years I spent feeling unseen, undervalued, my passion dismissed as a hobby. But then I remember the quiet satisfaction of building that installation, line by painstaking line, knowing its true power. I remember the look on Professor Thorne's face when he saw my signature, the dawning realization of true genius. It wasn't a shouted confrontation. It wasn't a public meltdown. It was quiet, meticulous work. It was believing in my own abilities when no one else would. It was letting my art speak for itself. And that, Reddit, was the most satisfying revenge of all. So, if you're out there, the quiet one, the one always doing the real work, while someone else takes the credit, keep building, keep documenting, keep perfecting your craft in silence, because when the moment comes, your true brilliance will be undeniable. And they will learn that sometimes the quietest person in the room holds the most devastating, most beautiful power. Thanks for listening.